Hello and welcome to Monte Carlo, the mouth of Monte Carlo Harbour in fact, for day 2 of Eurosport's unique coverage of the Monaco Grand Prix. Day 2 of qualifying, but day 3 of the weekend, because this, unlike any other venue in the world, insists on having Friday as a day off, and where better to spend 24 hours in the sun. But it's back to business today. Hello, I'm Matthew Lorenzo, and with me, John Watson, someone who knows all about the demands this circuit makes on drivers and their cars.
Well, Matt, it's without doubt the most difficult Grand Prix for a driver and for the car. Physically, it's very, very demanding. Mentally, it's probably even more demanding. You have not really got a moment on the circuit where you can relax and catch your breath. Other circuits, you've got long straights, you can sort of check the instruments and have a look around and compose yourself for the next sequence of corners. Here, the sequence is unending. It goes on for the entire distance of the race. But, and also the car, you've got something like 25 gear changes per lap, so the transmission on the car, the engine, the brakes, every part of the car really here is under such stress. And I think it's a miracle that the car makes it, let alone the driver.
Well, John, we'll have more from you later on. Thanks very much for joining us. Let me tell you more about what's coming up over the weekend on Eurosport. Today we have coverage of the final qualifying session, all the action for the battle for pole position. Plus we have a behind-the-helmet profile of a man who's making his debut here at Monaco, Emanuele Pirro, back from illness. And we have a look at the special role that fuel has in Formula One, the design of it, the way it's made up, and so forth. For now, let's have a look at the current championship standings. In the Drivers' Championship, no prizes for guessing who tops that. Ayrton Senna with 13 points, 1 point ahead of the two men who share second place, Alain Prost and Gerhard Berger. Riccardo Patrese is in 4th position with 9 points, 2 ahead of the dynamic young Frenchman, Jean Alesi. He has 7. Thierry Boutsen and Nelson Piquet share 6th position, both have 6 points. In 8th place, Alessandro Nannini with 4 points. Then comes Nigel Mansell with 3 for Ferrari. Stefano Modena is 10th for Brabham with 2 points, and 1 point for the other Tyrrell driver, Satoru Nakajima. In the Constructors' Championship, McLaren Honda hold 1st position with 25 points. Second are Williams Renault and Ferrari, both have 15. In 4th position on their own, Benetton Ford with 10 points. 5th are Tyrrell with 8, 6th Brabham Judd with 2. Now it's time to go behind the helmet. The man under the microscope this week, Emanuele Pirro, the Dallara driver. He's been off the scene for some months now with illness.
Emanuele, great to see you back at Grand Prix racing. Can you just tell us what was actually wrong with you for those first 2 Grand Prix?
My liver. I had an hepatitis A. Probably because I've been eating some fish in the January testing in Portugal, and it takes 1 month the incubation, and in February I went to Harris and I felt really, really bad, and I was just about to leave to Japan to do some testing with McLaren and then go to America, and I went to the doctor and he took the blood and he said, for you the season is finished. How is finished? I said, yeah, you've got an hepatitis and that's it, you're going to be away for 6 months. But then it took less than what they thought, because I've been staying, of course, in bed and did all what I had to do. And after 6 weeks, I could walk 1 hour a day. Then I started to do some re-education, and about 1 month ago, I started to work hard to get back the condition. I was able to run and go to the gym. Now I'm much, much better.
A new team this year. We saw you at Benetton last year, and now you're with Scuderia Italia. How do you feel about what is one of the smaller teams in Grand Prix racing, but a team that's had some success, of course?
Yes, we're not too small. I mean, of course, the size of Benetton is bigger, but the team in the past showed that the number of mechanics doesn't really mean the number of points you score at the end of the championship. So we really want to do well. The car is a simple car, and I think we're going to do well. It showed well in qualifying in the first 2 races. Then we went to Imola, and in the fast track we had a few problems. But I think we're going to do quite well.
And this, of course, is your first Monaco Grand Prix.
Yes. Well, I mean, the first time you go to the casino, you win a lot of money, so why not?
Well, he's a lucky man if he wins first time out at Monte Carlo. It didn't work for me. Anyway, coming up, our technical file. Today we look at the way fuels and lubricants are specially designed for Formula One.
Well, Tony Dennis, you're the International Motorsport Manager for Shell. Can you tell us, is the fuel that goes in these Grand Prix cars different to the fuel that we put in our normal road cars?
Yes, I think is the simple answer to that, Andrew. It is different, but the basic components are the same. They're just put together in a different way.
So what would happen if I actually poured this into my Peugeot family estate, perhaps?
I think it would work, but with limited success. Indeed, I have heard of some teams using Formula One in certain hire cars, and it has done the trick, but not an ideal fuel for the normal road car. Compression ratios of the engines are entirely different. There's no cold start component in the fuel that we use in Formula One, etc., etc.
So really, it's more powerful fuel. It's made-to-measure fuel, isn't it?
Yes, it's fuel that is designed ultimately for performance, although economy can still be critical, as was proved during our experience with the turbo engines back in 1988.
Unleaded, of course, is the big story over the last 2 or 3 years. Is this Grand Prix fuel unleaded?
We have supplied both unleaded and leaded fuel over our association with Honda, and indeed 15 out of 16 races that we won in 1988 were won on unleaded fuel. We use unleaded wherever it's possible to do so, and we're working towards becoming 100% unleaded.
Tony, costs. We're used in Britain to paying £2 a gallon. How much would this fuel cost?
I guess, I mean, like most things in Formula One, it's difficult to cost exactly. I think if we sold it, it's something around £10 a gallon. But behind that £10 a gallon, you've got research costs. We have a research centre in Cheshire, in England, which produces fuel, and they work together with our R&D people in Japan. So all of that adds up behind the £10 a gallon. We generally supply McLaren in a year enough fuel to run a Grand Prix distance every day of the year.
Well, that's absolutely phenomenal.
Because as well as the 16 races that we supply fuel to, and often 2 or 3 types of fuel per race, we also supply something like 30 tests in Europe, engine testing and track testing in Japan, and that all adds up to quite some total.
We've talked about your Formula One fuel, but what about the lubricants, the oil that goes in the gearbox and into the engine?
Again, just like the fuel, specialist one-off lubricants, although during the course of a year we will probably change the specification maybe half a dozen times, always looking for something a little bit better. Again, it's our policy to develop lubricants that the customer is going to benefit from tomorrow.
Tony Dennis, no relation to Ron, of course, from Shell, talking about their involvement. Now, Matthew Lorenzo with the top 10 qualifying positions from Thursday.
Ayrton Senna in first position for McLaren, nearly 1.5 seconds ahead of anybody else. 1 minute 21.797. Second, Gerhard Berger in the other McLaren. Then comes Jean Alesi with a terrific drive for the Tyrrell team. Alain Prost, an older Frenchman, is fourth for Ferrari. Fifth, Thierry Boutsen in the Williams. Sixth, Pierluigi Martini making light of that chipped ankle bone in the Minardi. Derek Warwick will be happy with 7th place in the new Lotus. 8th is the winner 2 weeks ago, Riccardo Patrese in the Williams. 9th, Nicola Larini for Ligier, and 10th, Nigel Mansell in the other Ferrari. Martin Donnelly is in 11th place for Lotus, and 12th, Emanuele Pirro making his Monaco debut in the Dallara. Well, that's it for now. We'll be back in a few short moments with coverage of the battle for pole position, the final qualifying session for the Monaco Grand Prix. Welcome back to part 2. Let's straight away join Andrew and John with the highlights of the battle for pole position.
Gerhard Berger just going out onto the track. Interesting to see what Gerhard does. Possibly on his second set of tyres now.
He could be, but in fact Berger may well have chosen to do the one soft set of race tyres and one of the qualifiers. We could see a sticker on the tyres he came out of the pit. So I wouldn't have thought that his first set of qualifiers, and that's what he ran very early in the section, would be in such good conditions the sticker would still be attached to the tyre. So maybe Berger chose to go with one set of soft race tyres and one set of qualifiers. So I think when we see the end of his full first lap, we will know whether that's a qualifying lap or whether he has in fact chosen to go the one-on-one route.
Ayrton Senna, of course, the master of Monaco, is not yet out, nor is Jean Alesi. Both are still in the pit. You see Senna there, waiting, getting ready for his run. Just to recap on the current situation, Senna and Prost now on the front row of the grid, Berger and Alesi on the second row, and then Emanuele Pirro and Nelson Piquet, who has improved, they're on row 3 of the grid. Then it's Martin Donnelly and Thierry Boutsen. Boutsen hasn't been out yet. Then Modena, and rounding out the top 10, it's Piero Martini. And that's an interesting story, John, as we still watch this McLaren circulating.
Indeed it is. I think it's a very courageous effort on the part of Martini. He had that horrible accident with Imola 2 weeks ago where he damaged his left heel. And he was told that the plaster had to be on for about 25 days. After 10 days, he took a pair of scissors and snipped it off, and he came here and he's driven and he's done a tremendous job.
Well, we can see from the timing screen that Gerhard Berger is on what looks like his first serious attempt at a big qualifying lap. Trying, of course, to get back on the front row of the grid and switching there. John, take us through the rest of the lap. Give us some gear change points too.
Well, I've just come through Mirabeau and now into the station hairpin down to first gear. It's very, very slow. Taking second for the first part of the Portier. Derek Warwick pulls over and lets him through. Second part of the Portier, still in second gear. But just braking quickly, Nigel Mansell out of our sight has just done a quick run. Mansell up to fourth place, and now Berger gone a little quicker. In fact, Berger with a 1:22.682. Mansell now fifth, 1:22.820. So all the time the situation is changing. A bit later in the session, it will have settled down a little bit. But carry on with this Berger lap. Yes, coming through the swimming pool, this is in fourth gear, and it's very, very fast. Down to the third gear, right, then left, then hard as an accelerator again, up to the fourth gear. Braking back down to second, and now, almost missing the corner, and he's about to, he missed the corner totally, and he's actually aborted the lap and come into the pit. I'm sure the steam is going to be coming out of his helmet within seconds of stopping in the pit. So it was a good lap, but he overshot into the Rascast, and he decided just to abort the lap and have another go later in the session.
Just going back to the situation at the back of the field. Alboreto in the show currently at 26th. He's the man on the bubble. David Brabham, 27th. Then it's Capelli, Moreno and Gougeman are out. And here is Jean Alesi. And this man has been absolutely sensational here at Monaco. He is a driver whose reputation is growing all the time. His name is now being used along in the same sentences as, of course, Prost and Senna and Mansell. But the thing about Alesi, John, he's such an exciting driver. Superb, sensational car control through the Casino Square. When he gets onto his fast lap, we'll see that. John, is he going to go for a quick run this time?
He's going to have a look at it. I think if he can see a clear track, he will. Jean Alesi is the kind of race driver, and he has had opportunity. He is going to go for it. But what makes him so exciting is the visual aspect of his driving. He chucks the car around literally in a way I've never seen a Grand Prix car driven. And even Ayrton Senna, who's the master at qualifying, even his qualifying laps don't look as exciting as Alesi. Bit lucky with the traffic there. Look at him. Look how that car twitches around the right-hander. And now down to that first gear hairpin. 29 seconds up to that point. Slides the car out. Well controlled. Down into 48, the point where Ayrton Senna blew the race here 3 years ago, into the tunnel. Out of the tunnel, and that's, of course, the fastest point on the track. Yes, the cars are reaching about 160 miles an hour, then they've got to brake, slow right down, take second gear through this very slow chicane, and take up speed again. Come into the Tabac in fourth gear, along the seafront, down to the swimming pool, and this is where in the morning's practice he was absolutely unbelievable.
Actually, this lap looking a little more controlled than the Alesi we saw yesterday on Thursday. Just watch the time. And looks as if it's going to be a quick one. 1:22.7, 1:22.7 from him. And he still does not get onto the Second row of the grid, let's just check that. Yes, a lazy down in 5th place is going to be disappointed with that. And here in the pits now, waiting, the Imola winner, Riccardo Petresi, a former winner here with Brabham. And the Williams team, very happy with their Renault engines, but they have been complaining, John, about the grip of the cars. The latest Patrick Hedge design, SW13, appearing not to work nearly so well here. But now we're joining Senna in car. Now charging up the hill.
Yes, Senna looks like he's making a major attempt at improving on that 121.7 of Thursday. Coming into the Casino Square through the long left-hander, sharp right, and here the car then drops downhill very, very quickly down to the Mirabeau corner, hard on the brakes, third gear, letting the car run round, then down into the Lowe's hairpin, first gear again. The reputation of Senna is such that everybody, even David Brabham or Stefano Modena, who saw him coming, almost came to a standstill so as Senna could get the clearest shot at his first full-blown qualifying lap today. Coming down now to the chicane at the end of the tunnel.
Just quickly, David Brabham back in the show with another quicker lap. He's currently in 25th spot.
Through the swimming pool, on the brakes, into third gear, hard right, hard left. He's got a car ahead of him. That's maybe going to be a little bit of a problem. He may well... One of the Williams who can't make up, which I think is too crazy. No, it's not the LaRouche still though. But the lap is still a good lap, and he may well be able to improve on the time that he's 21.3. Yes, it's an improvement of 4.4 of a second.
Yes, so Ayrton Senna showing his true style. Senna now improved and it's gone to 1:21.3. You rode with Senna there on the fastest ever lap round Monaco, I believe, John.
We've got John Alesi back out again, having his second attempt at qualifying, and watching him. The way the car jigs around, how does that steering wheel, the car responds, whatever the back end of it does, he doesn't seem to worry. He seems to have no fear whatsoever of this 04, the Pirelli tires, that very unique front end nose wing treatment.
Meanwhile, and he's pulling off, is he? Not a problem? No. Meanwhile, his teammate, Satoru Nakajima, currently in 23rd spot. And Alesi has already done a quick one. In fact, out of our sight, Alesi has put in a sensational lap of 1 minute, 21.8. Alesi goes to the front row of the grid. There's the confirmation on your screen. Senna, Alesi, Frost, Petresi, Berger, Mansell, Pirro and PK. Alesi goes second.
Boots are now trying to get the maximum grip he can. The space still part of the second to 48. These corner speeds are very, very low, so the actual downforce that the driver gets from the aerodynamics on his car are relatively low, so you rely on the suspension of the car to give you the grip. As the speed builds up, then the aerodynamic effect becomes more noticeable. But these very slow corners provide the mechanical grip that the car needs to get through the corner and get the power down into the swimming pool complex. On the brakes down to third gear, right over the curve, left, hitting the barrier on the inside, running out wide, fourth gear, then back down, second gear, oh good, down to first gear, accelerate up, this little flick before you come on from pitch. Not going to be the quickest lap, I think, but certainly somewhere maybe in the 124s. Quicker 122.691. Boots are now in 6th place.
Yes, an improvement there from Thierry Boutsen. Here's Alain Prost. And a sensational lap. Look at that. Prost has got to make it onto the front row of the grid. Now it's Senna, Prost, Alesi, Petresi. And here is Senna. And it looks as if he's on a mixed set. Seconds to the chicane is definitely quick. Now going up around the swimming pool section, and he is balked, and that means, well, that's it, that's blown that lap. And so it is very unlikely now that Senna will go any quicker. Well, that was just pure chance that he met that car there, that on him. And let's see what lap. Still very quick though, John. Let's just check it out. 1:21.544. Now, what do you think that would have been without that hiccup?
Well, I mean, he was held up very, very bad indeed by Wojtek and the Onyx. And I suspect that lap would have been very comfortably in the low 1 minute 20s. In fact, some people are predicting a lap in a 1:19, but certainly I would have thought a middle 1:20.3, 1:20.4, 20.5.
Well, he has slowed down, but in fact, it is still the second fastest ever lap of Monaco. That, despite that problem with Wojtek. And obviously has decided not to go for it. The tyres completely shot. We can't see from the pictures, John, really what happens to those qualifying tyres, can we?
The only way you can tell is if the tyre has totally gone off, that a black line, a darker line, because the tyre looks slightly grey on the surface. You get a very black line, that indicates that the tyre, in fact, is completely shot. I think Senna's going to have another go. He backed off. He didn't use the tyre for the final part of the lap very hard, as you see coming into the second part of the chicane. Wojtek not really using his mirrors, he was cruising around, and poor Senna, on what was going to be a truly brilliant lap, lost, well, almost the best part of a second there.
Yes, well, here is Senna cruising back to the pit. See what happens.
Stefano Modena having a spin in the swimming pool complex. Not much room to spin there. In fact, if you don't damage the nose, damage the tail of the car, you're extremely lucky, and it looks like he has been lucky because there's no obvious sign of damage. There's no self-starter on the car. He's not able to fire the engine up, so he's looking for assistance from the marshals. They're not too keen to get onto the racetrack because other drivers are going to come around, and they're not always as respectful of waved yellow flags as they sometimes should be, especially in these qualifying sessions. So not too much enthusiasm for them to get Stefano Modena motoring again.
He's just moving off now. Just 7 minutes of this session remaining. Some 3 points turning and a pretty dodgy moment. All the marshals here in those orange suits. And Modena says, go on, give me a big push. Look at that. Getting pretty agitated about it. Go on, lads, bump start it. And it doesn't want to go. Now it goes. The Judd engine fires up. The V8 motor, built in Britain. The new narrow angle Judd, as used in the Leighton House cars. Nicola Larini, the only man in the top 20 not to improve so far today. Mansell now going on to his quick one. The watch starts. John, what do you think about Mansell's effort? Any chance?
Well, certainly he's going to give it 100%, as we saw. Again, the two wheels on the left-hand side just kissing the barrier as he came out of Saint-Deveau. He hasn't given the tyres a second lap that most of the other competitors have been doing. He's certainly going for it in a big way, coming down into the Mirabeau corner. Of course, he spent almost 40 minutes in the pit from his previous runs. It's a long time in the pit. Car gets cold, you cool down as well, and to get yourself back up to that peak of alertness to do one of these blinding qualifying laps is really all about experience these days. Coming down into the very tight second gear chicane. Settling down now towards the back corner into fourth gear. Drive at the back, up to the swimming pool complex. Slick left, slick right. Down to third gear, right, left. Out on the power, fourth gear. Down into the point where Frost spun this morning. Down into first gear in the 7-speed gearbox of the Ferrari. Up to second gear, round, right, left, six. Then on to the start of the... Let's have a look and see what Mansell has done. 22.7. Small improvement, 10th of a second. Not enough to have any significance on this distribution.
So let's check out now the grid lineup for Sunday's big race. Ayrton Senna on the pole with 1 minute 21.314. Alongside him, Alan Prost, 1 minute 21.776 to keep the Ferrari fans happy. The sensational Jean Alesi is third fastest, 1 minute 21.801, and with him Riccardo Patrese, 1 minute 22.026. Then it's Gerhard Berger, 1 minute 22.682, and just a fraction behind him, Jerry Boonton, 1 minute 22.691. Starting in 7th place, Nigel Mansell, 122.733, and alongside him, Piero Martini, with 1 minute 23.149. Then it's Emanuele Pirro on 123.494, and completing the top 10, Nelson Piquet, 1 minute 23.566. The rest of the positions, Martin Donnelly, Andrea De Cesaris, Derek Warwick, Stefano Modena, Gary Suzuki, Sandro Nannini, Nicola Larini, Philip Alio, Paolo Barilla, and in 20th spot is Gregor Wojtek. The final 6 positions, Satoru Nakajima, Alex Caffey, Ivan Capelli, Eric Bernard, David Brabham getting in for his first Grand Prix, and then on the bubble, JJ Leto. The ones who didn't make it, Kelly Alvaretto, Oliver Griard, Mauricio Gugelmin, and Roberto Moreno.
So now we know the final grid positions. Before the race itself, in our next programme, we'll have the latest news from the pit lane, plus an exclusive interview with Jackie Stewart, a Monaco master.
It is special. I don't care what anybody says. I think Prince Rainier and the whole family make it that. It's the most glamorous, colourful and exciting place in the world to be.
So join us for the big race live, 1500 Central European Time, 1400 in the UK.